blockbuster series of corporate mobility management webinars. Traveling around the world in 80 days with a smartphone will cost me what? I'm Beth Miller, and in just a minute, I'm going to introduce our speakers. But first, just a couple of housekeeping items. During the webinar, you'll be muted, but you can use your chat button on your control panel to send us a comment or question at any time. We're going to do our best to answer everyone before we finish promptly after 30 minutes, or we will email you with an answer. Watch for your invitation to our final blockbuster, Taming the Raging Bull of MDM, scheduled on November 9th. Now let's get started. Our speakers today are Kevin Whitehurst, co-founder and managing partner of mindWireless, and Brian Hall, the Director of Customer Finance. Kevin regularly encounters firsthand the challenges of international travel with a wireless device, so he's a perfect person to talk about this subject, and we're going to begin with him. Kevin?
Great. Thank you, Beth. And welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us today as we talk about strategies and tips to managing wireless international costs. As we all know, international costs can get out of hand very quickly. When a 10-minute download can reach costs of over $200, it's clear that we have to be very thoughtful in controlling costs. Our record to date was a data card that racked up just over $26,000. An executive not used to traveling internationally used a data card as they might on a normal domestic trip and racked up high usage costs. This is all occurring while on a 4-day trip to the World Cup. We pulled some international roaming data from our clients to research a few trends and confirmed our thoughts that international costs are rising dramatically. In fact, it's rising every quarter at an average pace of over 17%. Interestingly, we are seeing international roaming costs per user stay consistent over time. So users are not necessarily using more, there are simply more users joining in the international game. As more of our employees travel, we're also seeing some psychological trends within the users of our clients. People expect their new, sophisticated smartphones to work overseas, and many believe they have the right to use their phones since they have been given this hardship of international travel. A combination of high carrier costs and behavior patterns from users work together to create this problem. The next slide examines international spend per device. We separated international roaming costs into traditional cell phones, BlackBerries, and smartphones. The smartphone category includes iPhones, Androids, and Windows Mobile. While the smartphone category is growing rapidly within our clients, it is still the minority when looking at total devices. We saw a clear distinction in the pricing. Cell phones had the lowest cost per user, averaging around $140 per month in roaming charges. Again, this is just roaming charges, not included domestic access fees and domestic charges. This is purely international roaming. BlackBerries were next at around $170 per user, and smartphones were 21% higher than BlackBerries at nearly $210 per user. The increased use of data on smartphones is attributed to the higher cost of international roaming. Looking at our client base from a domestic perspective, users consume about 10 times more data when on smartphones than BlackBerries. This trend continues when users travel internationally. Smartphones consume more data, and when traveling out of the country, we consistently see higher roaming costs. We could spend hours going over the data, but I suspect we don't have to convince you that there is a real problem here. So let's move into some of the solutions. I'm going to pass this over to Brian now as he goes through our first solution.
Great, thank you, Kevin. The first alternative for international roaming is to rent an in-country based phone to use when traveling. This method involves some pre-planning, making the convenience factor moderate, since users will have to rent the phone a week in advance. Additionally, the users will need to carry a second device, which may be unfamiliar to them. One of our clients, a Fortune 100 manufacturing company, has had great success with this alternative. Through our monthly management, we've been able to integrate this option directly into our employee portal, greatly increasing the convenience factor to the end users. Increasing the convenience means that more users will choose this option, saving thousands of dollars monthly. For comparison, a typical international minute may cost 30 cents compared to $2 to $4 per minute with an AT&T or Verizon phone. Another alternative is to procure an in-country prepaid SIM card. The end user buys a prepaid SIM card based on the country they're visiting. Upon arrival in the country, the user then places this SIM card into an unlocked GSM phone. The user has to carry a quad-band phone to ensure compatibility with most international countries. This alternative requires the right device and a little technical know-how to work it properly. The costs, however, are moderate to low, and it is a great alternative for the seasoned international traveler. This may be difficult for the once-a-year traveler. Kevin?
Great, thank you, Brian. Option 3 involves a multi-SIM approach. There are some new patented methods that allow 250 identities to be created on a single SIM card. This means a user could have up to 250 phone numbers, each from a different country, on one device. TruePhone is one of the companies developing this concept, and I think in the near future it could be a real game changer. Currently, True has identities in the US, the UK, and Australia. As they develop this MVNO approach across the globe, we may see a real easy, low-cost solution here. Again, this would require a traveler to carry an extra international phone and may have some inconvenience in setup. We'll continue to monitor this emerging technology to implement within our solutions. The cool thing is that while traveling, the phone detects the least cost identity where you are. For example, if you're in China and Australia happens to be the least cost per minute of the 3 current identities, then the Australian network will be used. Smart stuff. From a cost perspective, we see home country costs in the 10 to 20 cent range. When roaming out of the home countries, being today US, UK, and Australia, rates become a little more like international rates ranging from 25 cents to over $2 per minute. As this concept expands to include more home countries, we see this as a 2 thumbs-up approach to international cost management. Now, each of these 3 solutions require high communication efforts to effectively implement. The key to being successful is having a solution that your end users can centrally locate information on all things wireless. What we have done with our clients is to communicate wireless strategies within our end user employee portal, which allows employees to log in and see all things wireless, from usage history to available corporate approved devices, new orders and upgrades, to implementing a trouble ticket. We'll get a glimpse of this portal a little bit later in this presentation. The next solution is the VoIP, or Voice over Internet Protocol solution. This is the lowest cost alternative, and in most cases can be extremely easy to use. Services like True, Skype, and Vonage offer dialers that can be loaded on a laptop, tablet PC, or smartphone. When these devices are connected to the internet via Wi-Fi, unlimited calling can take place between devices using the same service. Users can even call a cell phone or a landline for a very minimal charge, often 2 to 5 cents per minute. This is a highly cost-effective solution that we believe should be the first choice in international communications. We find that most hotels include internet as a free option, and even when it does cost $10 to $20 per day, it can still prove to be a great cost-saving solution. Recently, I traveled to India for a little bit over a week. I was able to call my wife twice a day, call into the office when needed, and I kept my entire communications just under $10. With a little pre-planning, using Skype and free Wi-Fi at my hotel and office, I kept my cost to almost nothing. I was even able to connect via video calling, enhancing my communications back home. In addition, one of our largest clients, a Fortune 100 services organization, requires Skype as a tool for international communications. We deliver the communications through our employee portal and guide end users on its use. It's so easy to use, and we have seen volume of international calling charges drop from the carriers already. Back to Brian for option 5.
Great, thanks, Kevin. The next 2 strategies for cost savings involve the carrier and utilizing the incumbent U.S. device. The idea of using one phone for all communications hits high on the convenience meter and requires little or no additional technical knowledge. With the convenience feature being high, however, standard carrier costs are also very high. Bolt-on features are a great way to help reduce these costs by pre-buying international minutes or international data. Often these plans are negotiated specifically for the client, or a client may utilize some standard bolt-on plans available in the market. We are even able to work with a few of the carriers to get overage information prior to the bill cycle ending. If we know a user is about to experience a costly overage, we can implement the bolt-on plan and backdate it to help cover the prior few weeks of international usage. This is a new feature that is not yet offered throughout the market. The next strategy is negotiating international rates for your highest traveled countries within your organization. Often we hear carriers claiming little to no margin available with international rates, but we have seen some aggressive discounts for targeted countries when pushed. mindWireless recommends negotiating rates in your top 10 countries visited. This falls high on the convenience meter for your end users, but costs are still moderate to high, although considerably less than market rates for the target countries focused on. We've also seen some aggressive cap rates negotiated for data plans. This is a strategy that we recommend implementing regardless of any other policies. It can never hurt to have the lowest rates available to your end users. Our recommendation, negotiate, negotiate, negotiate. There is margin in international rates. Devin?
Great, thank you, Brian. In addition to implementing one or more of these strategies, here are some best practice concepts that create the foundation to your wireless program. First, a policy is critical to any wireless program, particularly as you create guidelines for international travel. Second, each organization has to create their own strategy to match the culture and values of the organization. Strategies toward international travel and communications may differ per job type, per level, or per role in the organization. And third, effective communications and training is critical to a successful wireless international program. Let's dive a little deeper into each of these components.
Thanks, Kevin. Organizations must define key policy requirements for international travel. Devices, technologies, and preferred usage must be identified for the end user travelers. Keeping new technology relevant in the policy also helps increase the usage of desired cost savings tools. Pre-planning for an international trip is also a must, and follow-through on users that ignore policy is important for corporate policy adoption over time. Defining strategic decision points is another critical step towards creating a best practice wireless program. Gaining executive support is key and shouldn't be overlooked. Defining solutions for key roles that balance convenience and cost is different for each organization. Consider engaging a professional telecom expense management firm to help implement customized technology to support your strategy.
Great, and finally, communication is the last critical step in an effective wireless solution. Many end users that come back from an international trip after racking up high charges were simply unaware of how quickly costs can spiral up. Strategy and policy can be communicated through an automated self-service portal, making it easy for end users to follow policy and follow strategies in place. Also, consider integrating with your travel department so communications can be tied to international trips being booked. Mobile device management tools can also be effective in determining when users travel internationally and to block roaming. Here's a quick example of an employee service portal available to all wireless users to help our clients implement best practices. Natura is our example client here. You can see here on the front page that your employees can enroll their device into a wireless inventory, manage their device, shop for new devices, upgrades, and international devices, and they can have features and international service. There's also reporting on usage in domestic and international costs. There is no better way to implement a chosen policy, strategy, and communicate how the international program can work. Controlling the international process from end to end will result in lower costs, better informed end users, and the ability to implement new technologies quickly. Thank you very much for your time and being part of this call. If there are any questions, please feel free to contact us at the email listed below or at the phone number. We appreciate again your time. This concludes the webinar on international wireless costs. Thank you.